the shift to Game 3. Tomorrow night, Dallas needing a bounce back in the worst way from a rough 2 nights in Boston. Mavericks have turned the ball over 26 times in the first 2 games, nearly half of those coming from Luka Doncic. Game 2, he had a tough night on defense, too. He was blown by on 13 of the drives that he defended. So some ups and some downs for Luka in the first 2 games. Meanwhile, shooting from deep has been a massive problem for Dallas. Luka shooting 38% from 3. All the other players in this series on Dallas have combined to make just 5 threes, 5 of 32. That's 16%. And Kyrie, as has been documented, really struggling, under 17 points in each of the first 2 games, 0 for 8 from three-point range. Lots of talk about his slow start in the finals from, among others, Shannon Sharpe and Big Perk.
Kyrie Irving has been horrible in this finals right now. And in order for the Dallas Mavericks to even have a chance of winning, he just have to elevate his game and make shots offensively.
I believe the main reason the Mavericks find themselves in the hole that they're in is that Kyrie hasn't played up to Kyrie's standard. This is the most important game in finals history for Kyrie Irving.
Okay, so a lot of thoughts, a lot of pressure on Kyrie Irving. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, I don't think that's necessarily an overstatement. I know he's played in some bigger games because he's played in games where there was 1 win away from winning a championship or 1 game away from being eliminated. That's not the case here, but there's rarely been this much scrutiny on Kyrie Irving in a big spot. And I was shocked that he didn't play well in Game 2. I said it. I'll be shocked if he has 2 games in a row where he's not an impactful offensive player. He hasn't been. Look, some of this is Boston's defense, but let's not get too carried away there. He's played against great defenses in length his entire career. He's been just fine. I think he's overthinking it. He looks indecisive. He's almost making 1 too many moves against these guys. That's part of it. He's also getting the ball in the second half of the clock all the time. Give him the ball in the first half of the clock. I want to see Kyrie Irving bring the ball up the floor more. Initiate action first, where he just gets it and goes before Boston has a chance to get back there, see what's in front of them, and know exactly how they want to lock him up. Kyrie Irving is the key to the entire thing. Is this going to become a series or not? A lot of it is going to be at the feet of Kyrie Irving in Game 3.
Okay, so the main reason, to use Shannon's words, that the Dallas Mavericks are down 2-0 is because the Celtics are awesome and better than Dallas. Kyrie, I think it's crazy to say that this game is the biggest game Kyrie Irving has ever played in the finals when he played in Game 7 on the road against the 73-win team. All of that said, the Mavs are drawing dead on arrival if Kyrie Irving doesn't start making shots. And I agree with Legs. He looks frenzied. He looks addled. He looks like he's pressing. He's playing jitterbug with the ball too long and taking some bad shots, I think, when like 1 simple pass is right there to an open shooter. And yeah, those guys aren't knocking down those shots yet, but those passes and those shots and those plays that come out of them are the reason that Dallas is in the finals, that Luka and Kyrie have trusted the other guys to keep the machine moving. Something is just stuck in the flow right now, and they need him to get out of it, or else this could be a sweep.
You were there the other night, and I had a lot of people who were in the building tell me they thought the crowd and some things there got into Kyrie's head a little bit.
I've been in TD Garden regular season games, and obviously it's the finals. It should be loud, but it was really like, yo, it's loud in here. And the consistency with which they are booing Kyrie on the catch, I'm like, wow, they are committed to this 100%. Look, you guys are right, but I'm also going to add that this Celtics defense, we're sort of lulled to sleep because, they played 3 teams that missed their stars, and do they have enough toughness? They haven't been tested. Jrue Holiday has been absolutely ready for this assignment, right? When you look at what Kyrie was able to do versus Minnesota, shout out to him both for these numbers. That was the #1 defense. 27 points on 49-38 splits. Versus Jrue Holiday in 51 matchups, he's only scored 8 points and had 10 field goal attempts. And so I think we haven't talked enough about this Boston defense and their ability to make it difficult. They've got Luka getting his numbers, but a little less Luka-like, and then everything from there is off kilter, so to speak, for the Mavs.
So I said this after Game 1, and that is that there comes a point in every series where everyone knows who the better team is. Both teams know who the better team is, and every realistic observer knows who the better team is. That was evident in Game 1 of this series. That doesn't mean that Dallas can't win. The better team doesn't always win.
Right.
But for the lesser team, which the Mavericks unquestionably are, the Celtics have 4 front-line, top-of-the-line, all-NBA caliber players. The Mavericks have 2. That's simple math. But for the lesser team in that equation to win, they have to play great. They have to play above their weight. They're playing below their weight. And that, I think, is the simple answer to what happened in the first two.
They are so far below their best offensively, they haven't given themselves a chance to win. You know, what has to happen in this series? You've got to get Boston into a situation with 5 minutes to go where this is now a tie game, one possession game, because then
they were there. Legs, I will say this: they were there, but the push in the back, the call the other day, if they get that foul,
that wasn't a 5-point, that wasn't a tie game with 5 minutes to go.
It could have been a 3-point game with 50 seconds left.
That run at the end of that game, to me, felt a little bit like a fake run. I did not feel like Boston was a threat to lose that game. I'm talking about it's tied, timeout, 4 minutes to go. You come out of the timeout. Now we've got about 6 possessions left each. Who's going to manage them better? That's when Dallas has the advantage with Luka and Kyrie. And that's what they haven't made Boston feel.
That's right.
Making a run where you're trying to drag somebody down at the finish line of a game is entirely different than being in the position I'm talking about.
Zach, look at that. I'm sorry, for both of you, let's look at that number. I mean, the Mavs have scored. You don't need to be a mathematician to figure out that they're averaging 1 point per possession.
Well, look, I mean, this is an elite defense. It was the number 2 defense all year. We take it for granted because we focus on their offense and their crunch time offense over and over and over again. And look, the number 1 defense was Minnesota. Minnesota has some weak links. This team does not have any weak links. There's no undersized defender. There's no big, awkward, slow defender. There is nowhere to peck at for Kyrie Irving.
The other part of this is, as much as we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving, part of what Legs saw in terms of the potential of the Dallas Mavericks was their ability to get stops and their defense that had improved on the back half of the All-Star. They could not survive a 25% performance from Boston from the three-point line. Like, as much it is about getting it going offensively, defensively, they have not had really any solutions either.
That's tomorrow night with the Celtics up 2-0. And Legs, I think a lot of people have had their eyes opened by just how good Boston has looked in these first 2 games. Show us some tape.
You're going to see a number of things on these. One, how much Boston is changing sides of the floor with the ball, something Dallas isn't doing. And you're going to see some mistakes that Dallas is making on their rotations that have led to great offense by Boston. Starts here, not a bad job initially. Jaylen Brown's going to get into the paint. We stop right here. Now, right here, you've got a pretty good situation where you've got him bottled up. 5 defenders in the paint. He's about to kick this basketball out. The problem is, watch Luka. He gets himself out of position because, Greeny, on this pass to the corner, this should be a simple closeout and you keep the ball in front. But instead, watch what Luka ends up doing. He gets so far on the high side, you're now going to force Josh Green to run from the top side, which is going to allow this baseline penetration because the angle is terrible on the closeout. There's the kick out that comes from the top. Now, pretty good job. You got 2 guys rotating to the basketball to stop this penetration. Take a look at Drew Holiday floating to the corner right here. This is a great effort right here by Derrick Jones to run this down to the corner. The problem is what happens after that. Drew doesn't settle. He looks up. I have no idea what Maxi Kleber is about to do in this situation. He's in perfect position to stop the drive. For some reason, he gets his body positioning up here, which allows Drew Holiday to get all the way to the rim and step to the other side against a guard on the backline defense. No idea what they did on the rotation at the end of that, but it's great patience on the part of Boston. Here's another example. Come down, move it around a little bit. Luka initially, pretty good job. You want to take away middle, he does it. This is where Luka's got to get better. It's the second effort because at this point, he's out of the play. Jaylen Brown's going to spin back in, and here we go. We're going to get the rotation now on the weak side again. Watch these 3 defenders here on a string. You get to this spot, stop it now. Look at Josh Green. He's got first pass. So if he just takes first pass on the kick out, that means that P.J. Washington should close out here. Instead, watch P.J. Washington. Both guys go to the basketball, which now starts a chain of events. The ball gets swung. Luka comes out too hard on this closeout. Here goes Jason Tatum putting it back down. And the key here, watch Kyrie Irving. You shouldn't be stopping ball. Do not come off strong side corner ever on a shooter. Stay home. That's why you have a shot blocker on the floor to come pick up this rotation. It's not what happens. Kyrie Irving is going to stay right here in front of the basketball, which enables an easy kick out to the corner and a 3. But it's all caused by 2 things. Initial dribble penetration, and then the ball coming out and all the way to the other side of the floor. None of Dallas's possessions look that way.
All right, I speak for everyone when I say no one does this better than you do. What I would ask you very quickly, and we can go more deeply into this in our second hour, that looked like it was as much about Dallas getting things wrong as it was the Celtics getting things right.
Yes, and when you repeatedly get broken down off the dribble into the paint, it starts to turn into chaotic situations where now some of the rotations aren't clear. There's miscommunications. Guys turn their head. Two guys close out on the basketball. That's what happens when the ball's in the paint the whole night, and that's been the problem for Dallas in the first two games of the series.